welcome to our channel. My name is Sarah Brown and I live on an Indian reservation in Washington State. We have been collecting Sasquatch evidence for over 12 years, and the very first person that we met up with is a man named David Ellis. David Ellis is one of the very best people for analyzing audio, and from the very beginning he has spoken so highly of a man named John Andrews. Now, if you know anything about John Andrews, you know that he has some of the very best audio files of a Sasquatch that exist. The last video that we did about Washington State vocals had a lot of his audio in it. And we are going to share some more with you today because we traveled 4 hours away to Wenatchee, to the home of John Andrews, to meet with him, gather his experiences, some more of his evidence, and also hear some of his theories on Sasquatch. Unfortunately, we had some major technical difficulties with this video. Our audio did not pick up for half of the filming that we did with John. So this video is not going to be quite as thorough and as long as I'd liked it to be, but we are going to do the very best to condense it all and hopefully fill in all of the blanks that were not recorded.
Yeah, years ago, in Boy Scouts got me all started in this thing, and Boy's Life had an article about the Bigfoot, about what went on in Northern California. And once I read that, I immediately saw something was going on, you know, and Jerry Crew was putting a road in called the Go Road in Northern California. In fact, we spent some time there and hiked back in there and spent a couple of nights back in there. But the fact that the Indians, by the way, finally stopped the road because it was going to be going through some special territory of theirs, and they didn't want it going through there. So here's this big, well-paved road ending nowhere. It was kind of surrealistic. See, this road was all starting to, branches were falling on it, and nobody was taking care of it. So we spent some time up there. But when I read about the fact that the earth-moving equipment was there, as you know, and the big earth-moving wheel that was picked up and rolled and picked up and rolled, and then thrown into a ditch. And then the culverts that were taken from a pile of culverts, and I've worked with road maintenance, and you're talking probably about a 20-foot culvert in order to make a 12-foot road. And the fact that some of those were missing, and they found them a short distance away in a ravine. And that all adds up to being something that you just couldn't explain normally. And so you could either sit there for the rest of your life and be a skeptic, or you could go back and say, something's going on up there. And so that kind of got my introduction into the Bigfoot world. And I've been fascinated ever since. So that was just kind of the beginning of it. And we started in Colorado and did some stupid things, you know, going up and ringing on people's doorbells and asking them if they'd ever seen a big hairy man. And of course, most of them closed the door on our face. And so it's been a long road. And so Colorado was my beginning. Montana was my second area where we did some exploration and talked to some people. And then finally, here in Washington State. We call this the capital of the Bigfoot world. Colorado has a lot going on, and I spent 30 years of my life in Colorado, and then in Montana, and then finally here. And so this is where I've been most active over the years, and taking a lot of hikes into remote areas where we've had things happen. And it's exciting. It's a whole new world. And you start to realize the mystery of the Bigfoot. No one's an expert. There's nobody who's an expert on Bigfoot, and I don't think there ever will be anybody who's an expert on Bigfoot. There's too many dimensions about them, and a lot of them that people find hard to swallow. And I did too, until I heard, I call it dumb experience. By the time I heard enough from people and it was a pattern, you had to start believing something was going on. And some of them are pretty bizarre. And so hopefully before we get done with your visit today, I can play a couple of interesting things that kind of expand your horizon about Bigfoot, maybe their origin even, and their activity around human. So when you get into a campground full of people and something happens, you can never say, well, that was a Bigfoot. and I call it human contamination. People could be making noises, but once you hike off the road and off trail for a good 2 hours, the areas you're going to that are remote enough, there's nobody else in there. So when something happens, you have a higher degree of being able to say, yeah, we definitely think this is Bigfoot activity. And we've got a couple of areas like that have been consistent when we go in and hike in there. I have a handful of people I enjoy getting out with now that are objective and try to be honest. And a lot of people I just decide I don't want to get out with anymore. So I still get out, still enjoy it. Camp, if you can. Get out your tent out. If you sleep in the vehicle, that's fine, but I try to insulate you from the activity. So get a tent, sit it out there, put up your tape recorder.
What's the craziest encounter you've ever had with Sasquatch?
I've never seen one, I'll tell that. But actually, probably about a year ago, Paul and I were out in an area that even total strangers will tell you is a spooky area, and it's a valley that we go into, and Paul's been there for some time. And so we were out there and put up my tape recorder, and into the night, a couple of hours, we heard this big sound of something hitting something. Discovered later it was a Jeep. It was a Jeep. Twisted the mirror around. We actually could see where the hands had come down the side of the vehicle. Big 2-inch patterns of a hand that appeared like coming down. And so within maybe 40 minutes of us hitting Sac, and again, we slept through this, but it recorded it. You could hear something moving in the background. Again, single footsteps. And they came right up to our tent and stomped around our tent. Just a, it sounded just like I call it like a 300-pound man on a barroom floor. It was just a boom, 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 right up to our tent, and did that. That was preceded by little rocks and stones and things being thrown at our tent, and then they came right up to it. And they did that 3 times. They went away and came back up and went away and came back up. And during that same night, we had, and I'll play it for you, surveillance by some unknown thing. We're sure of it now. This is on the road. I've been there twice, but never had a car go by in a day and a half. So it's a place nobody seems to go because of lack of recreation opportunities, I think. And so we hear this sort of a coming by our camp, sound like a big moth. And then within moments later, coming by our camp again. It was mechanical, I'm sure. It wasn't an animal. It was very steady. There was no light source, as if it were a motorcycle. We couldn't describe that, and yet we found out this happened in the East Coast to someone. There's also YouTube where you can hear the same thing going on during Bigfoot activity. Another friend of mine's had even a more bizarre thing happen to him. Mechanical, something came down right next to it, his tent, and stayed around there with a strange noise. The noise increased and it flew off into the sky. What we call the purr sound. And again, it's not dramatic, but the fact that it happened in a remote area, there was no one else around, and it's just happened to other people in similar situations elsewhere. We thought it was a drone. I did some research on drones, and there was some that sound very similar. But you're in an area of high trees with a limited area between, in the clearing, you might get 30 feet of clearing in that area where the road is there. Some of these drones far exceed that, the ones that sound. You wouldn't be able to get a drone down as close, I don't think, to where we were. What is it? What is the interest in what you're doing? Why have you been picked out to have this surveillance going on? Is it extraterrestrial? That's hard for me to say. But whatever it is some form of technology, and they're interested in what you're doing. So that was another dimension I hadn't thought about until this happened. And then during that same night, I'll play it for you, a Bigfoot sound. It definitely is a Bigfoot sound during that night. So multiple things happened during this particular time up there, which were unusual. It wasn't just one incident or two, it was several incidents that happened to us during that time. So I always tell people, don't go by yourself. Take someone with you. They can add a dimension of rationale to what you're doing. And that helps if someone else says, yeah, I was with him and yeah, this happened. If you're a single person, they can try to poo-poo you. It's harder to do that when there's two people that are out there. And it's also for your protection as well. So I've gone out a lot by myself, but anymore I don't do that. Have someone go along with you. There's people who've had dramatic things happen to them, one night or two nights, probably more than I have, in a single incident. But that's the first time. They don't have none of the depth of experience, I guess, I think that people get if you've had a long time going out and doing this. So be aware of it. Sounds at night, sound of wood knocks. I don't know what you have on your tape, by the way, that you've got from me. Do you have the rock knocks, the wood knocks? You've got all that?
Yes.
Okay.
Got it. Hang on. Don't do nothing. I know, I heard it.
Got some wood knocking up on the mountainside to our left. I'm gonna do yell.
Well, that interaction between all of us is part of the tape, and that was kind of neat.
That's what makes those audio clips so good.
Then there's
is
the one
reactions.
where there's the what the.
And that's where, yeah, I was almost asleep in the car, because I'd probably been there 40 times. I'll go up at night after work and stay until 2 o'clock in the morning, come back home. And so, I did that for a long number. And you don't have a lot happen. Realize that, folks. 1 in 10 is a good track record when you go out. If you expect to get rich off this, don't expect to do that. If you expect entertainment every other time, don't expect that. It could happen, but it's patience. It's having that goal in front of you that says, hey, as you go by in a car, you drive up to your spot and you're excited. Another car drives by. If I say, hey, what are you doing tonight? We're going to go and hopefully have fun. So this is an area I've been into where we've had a kind of a pattern of activity going on. And, there's so many things I'll do. I could go on forever, but I'll try to not say a lot of these things. We can talk about at some point if you want to.
What did you think about the tree fall incident when that happened?
Well, I've had several go on. The one recording, I've got a recording, I don't know if you've got it, from Nate Helgeson, if you want to hear it. It's amazing. And we had, I don't know, I've had 2 or 3 happen here in some other areas. The one on the tape, the only one on the tape I know of on my sequence I gave you is by my friends who go up and you could barely hear the tree start to come down and they jump into their vehicle.
Here, hold on.
We had some wood knocking.
Did you hear that scream? He might be coming up behind us. There he goes again. Mm-hmm. Go. Holy shit!
And then they drive off.
Yeah.
Okay, that's humorous. And these are people who've been out for years and you know what's going on. So you've got that, but I've got one I'll play you that is fantastic by Nate. He's with a Japanese fellow. He's married to a Japanese girl, and so the community, they get to know them. This guy wasn't a Nobel Prize, it was something else he and some friends got for work on sound analysis. He took him up to the mountains, up in the Blue Mountains. And they're driving along, and this guy's purely scientific, you know, kind of cold-minded. Nate, you know, he's a very social guy, and he's talking to this guy about the Bigfoot, and this guy's saying, oh, Bigfoot, myth. Oh, myth, Bigfoot, yeah. So they drive up to this spot, takes him out, and this guy picks up immediately on glowing eyes that they saw off the ground. He immediately picks up the significance of that. It didn't take him long to figure out something was going on, and it might have been a Bigfoot. So in this tape, the guy puts out Japanese. He goes, bawa. And then there's a 10-second quietness, and then you can hear the tree coming down. And then Nate says, there you are. And then after that, the guy says, Bigfoot in America.
こんばんは。お元気ですか?
They just pushed over a tree.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
So that was really a classic case of recognition by someone who was very intelligent, recognized the importance of what was going on.
John Andrews is a very good artist. He is currently working on a wax figure of a Sasquatch that is one of the best depictions that I've ever seen in art. He also likes making life-size cardboard cutouts of a Sasquatch to give people an idea of how big these are when you come across them. This cardboard cutout that he did was 9 feet tall, which is a common height with Sasquatch. We filmed John talking about a branch that he'd found in the woods that was twisted and woven together. Unfortunately, the audio did not pick up for this clip, so here's that branch. But this is another common behavior with Sasquatch. For whatever reason, they twist oftentimes the branches, and we've actually seen this on our property, including one of my mulberry trees.
This is from Bob. We spent some time there. We're talking 1958, folks. Before Bigfoot was even thought of that much. Perfect. Sandbar, we figure close to 1,000 pounds. to have made the weight to push this in. Sand. Rarely in nature do you find a place where you can find a good footprint. That's a perfect example of a fantastic print. Size of the heel, the double ball, which is not a human trait on it. And so I thought that was really a neat example of a, and then the protrusion here, again, a lot of non-human features. And then here's the Patty one from Patty. You've probably seen this one. This is the Bob Gimlin. This is the Patty print, signed by good old Bob. Definitely lighter, female, narrower heel. Now this is one that no one else has, which is scary. From a lady in Monroe. Look at the size of, look at that. Look how that compares to Patty. Or that one. Much, much bigger by far. You can see the individual prints. This lady lived with her daughter. She didn't call me, and I called her back, and someone else gave me this to return to her, and I called her. I didn't know where she lived, and she never called me back. But she heard this out in the forest, tearing trees down. And she got frightened. She found it, and somebody made a cast for her. She made it. Toes. It was swung. I got the back part of it. It just swung itself around. Was swinging itself around in deep mud. Now you tell me, does a bear make that? No. Oh my God.
Whoa. 19th of April.
And there's three
2003.
There's three of us here.
Three of us here, and we just heard 4 loud vocalizations and 2 groans.
And I think in this case I've got 3 of those. Okay, very good. Okay.
We're in the company of John Andrews, who's doing the taping, and Nancy Smith and Richard Grover. And there's nobody up here but us.
And all the frogs are completely quiet.
The frogs just quit croaking.
It's kind of an overcast night.
Last night.
Very still.
Still, no breeze.
Okay, good.
Did you get it? Yes. Vocalizations occurred around 1 o'clock in the morning, and we also heard what sounded like 2 children chattering back and forth or yelling at each other.
As well as a couple of low moans.
Low moans. I mean,
Shut it up. Because I'm going to respond. Shut it up.
I'm trying to. Oh my God.
it's a good one.
God damn.
Moses are communicating with us.
So
We're about to enter a little saga here, and we've heard close to 8 vocalizations. All quiet.